Hi folks, Wes Penny here. I'll be doing a video on tying my resin scud. So I'm using a size 10 scud hook. This is a Firehole 316 and I'm using ultrafine mono. As you can see, I've already tied the mono right down the shank from the eye, and we're going to go well into the bend of the hook. So we'll go about halfway down the bend, and I'm going to reposition my hook. So I'm actually working on the top of the bend there. It's a little easier. And then we're going to tie in some mallard flank. So grab a pinch of mallard flank, maybe a dozen or so fibers. I'll be tying them at the back end for the rear legs of the scud. So we'll get them tied in. Just give them a pull to where you want them to be, about that long, 1/4 inch or so. A couple of secure wraps. And we'll cut that off. And the next material we'll be using is Stretch Magic. It's a clear stretch cord. This is 0.8 millimeters that I'm using. And one of the things you want to do is heat the end, the tag end, to lighter, and then give it a stretch, and it'll pigtail. And that gives you a fairly clean, thin piece of material to tie in. So you can just hook that right at the... You get it, you just want to wrap it all the way down. It's not cooperating very well here. There we go, get it down. Just clean that up. And once you get that in there and secured with a bunch of wraps, it's really very secure. And you can put your hook back to the right position. Just going to tighten it up a little bit. Okay, and then just continue to wrap. Now you want to build the body up a little bit over top, the very top of the hook, and especially kind of in this portion right here. So you want that to be a little higher in there, because that's going to just help you give you the proper curved profile of the scud. So I'll wrap over top of that quite a few times. And then go back a little bit so your transition into that hump is nice and smooth and even. And just build it up a tiny bit more. And again, it's nice and smooth as it slopes back down towards the eye. You can tie it in or tie it off at the eye for now. And then you're going to take Sharpies. So I use green and a neon orange. The neon orange makes a great hot spot. So you can just touch it kind of where you want it. Try not to make it too big. And then this green Sharpie, and you just dab it on the top. Again, you don't want to put a ton of color on because it magnifies so much through the stretch cord. So just dab the top. There's no need to go underneath. And then you can grab your clear stretch and give it a good pull, thin it out, and start wrapping up. And I'll keep that tension on it until I kind of hit the hot spot there, and then just loosen up a little bit. You can see that you're getting a nice curve on there. The body's built up, and then as you get to the point, just start giving it more tension to thin out. And then once you get to about 1/8 of an inch from the eye, you can tie it off. So bring your mono back to the stretch cord. Make a few wraps in front of the stretch cord, and that stops it from sliding forward on you when you're trying to wrap it. So you want to, and here you want to give it probably 4 or 5 wraps. So I'll go behind, over once, twice, behind. And that should hold it right there. And then you can give it a pull, cut it off, and then you want to tie off here because you don't want 1 or 2 of those wraps. If they come off, it loosens the tension and everything's going to unravel on you. So just tie it off right there. Then we'll get some more mallard flank and tie in the front antenna or legs. Put them right over top by the point. or by the eye, and just wrap them in. Clean that off. And I'll just get those end pieces all covered up. And you can whip finish here because you're done tying. You can cut off your mono. So now we'll put in the legs, and I use Antron, gray or white. So you can take, cut about 1.5 inch piece of Antron. And if you have a Stoneful dubbing comb brush, take the comb end and comb the Antron out. So if you get it so it's nice and flat, there's no knots in there. And you can take it and drape it right over top of the fly, and I'll do it in kind of the front half and the back half. Almost loose fibers gone. So just put it right over top and pull down so those fibers go in between the ribs of the stretch cord. And get some clear resin, and you're going to put it right on the top. Just put a couple of dabs on there, and then take a bodkin and just move the resin so it's down the sides. You don't want to put it into the legs, just along the sides. Okay, and then where's my light? And then cure that. And we'll take another piece. Do the same thing, give it a comb out. Drape it right over the back. Just hold it in place. A little bit more resin there, just enough to go down along the sides. Cure that. And then we'll cut the legs just slightly above the point. Clean off any of the loose ones, stragglers that are just hanging there. Now the other thing I like to do, there's a few at the back there, come off, is I'll come from underneath, straight up from underneath, and cut into the leg fibers. And that just staggers them a little bit. It'll thin it out, and it staggers them so it looks, you don't have that straight cut all the way across. And you can see that it's a little bit, not so even, it just looks a little nicer. Get rid of all those loose fibers. There. And we'll go right into putting the resin body on. So again, clear resin. I use Gulf. You can use whatever you prefer. And we're going to work mostly the front half of the Scud. So we'll just put that resin in because we want a nice clear back right at the front. You can do a little along the back. It doesn't need a lot. And just work your resin. You want to be careful again that the resin doesn't flow into the legs. If it goes into the legs, when you cure it, they'll just go really hard. Now you won't have that movement in the water with the legs. So a rotary vise allows you to kind of turn it and get that resin flowing back away from the legs. You can use a bodkin to move it around a little bit, kind of position it And that should be pretty good. And then just cure that. I always cure it a little longer because I put quite a bit of resin on there. Get that cured. Then if you want to add more, go a little higher, you can. If you're happy with kind of that profile, you can leave it there. I'm going to add just a little bit more in the front here. I just want it just a little bit higher. There we go. Okay. So at this point, your fly is pretty much done. You could take that as is now and go and fish it. I like to get a little fancier and just add a few things here, and a lot of it's just really for your own benefit, just for appearance. But I'll take some dirty motor oil Gulf resin, which is kind of a dark amber, and I'll add that to the front on the head. It just makes the head a little bit more obvious. Like I say, it just becomes, you know, tying art at this point. But it looks nice if you want to, you know, have some pictures and post them or whatever. I'll throw that on and cure that. The other thing you can do, if you want, is you can take some Gulf Nymph Green, and we can put a bit of Nymph Green on the back. And that really changes the appearance of the fly from kind of this crystal clear appearance. It gives it a bit of a translucent green on the back. You know, a lot of this kind of depends where you're going to fish it and what the naturals look like in any specific lake. You know, you can go a bit more brown, rusty colored, keep a clear, darker green. But putting this green has a lot of UV qualities in it. Just kind of move that around. And you can see how it changes the fly completely. So this is just another option on how to finish it. Get that on, we'll clear that. And then I'll take some Black Magic. This is going to be for the eyes. So I'm just going to touch where I want the eyes to be. Not too much. You don't want to smear it on there. You just want to touch. You're better off to put a tiny bit, cure it, then go back and add a little more if you want, and cure that. And I'm going to turn it and do the other side. Try and line up where the other eye is. Be right about there. I'll touch and cure. And there. Now the last thing I'll do is I will go to the Gulf Varnish. It just gives you one final coat on the fly. It'll get rid of any little imperfections in there or ridges. If you want to, it'll makes it a little shinier, and it's a little less likely to get fingerprints and go dull on you if you've got the varnish on it. And one final cure. There you have your resin scud. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that, and go and have fun tying them. I find them very addictive. Thanks again.